standing.
It's through the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, God, is one,
Our tonight, for reports and presentations is John the
So happy summer, summer's still rolling on. I did want to mention that the New York Kids report, the all research project at the elementary school came out. And the information was put on Facebook site and the district site. It's on my principal's message. So please take a look at that. It's great. I'm very proud of. Yeah, and follow through with us because we were an outlier positive culture that existed despite the craziness of COVID. There's a lot of this. And when I think of that report and think about, we took a step back from some of the academic focus that we had. But interestingly enough, we started to look at our data as far as our I-Ready scores, looking at growth in our kids' growth in math and reading. State tests we give every year. All of us focus of kids did pretty well, and that information will be coming out. Firm information on that by next month. So proud of our kids persevering despite some things. Things that are going on in LDS this summer. So as I do every summer, it seems I have Bridget cross on what she does for literacy and all that goes on in our library in the summer. A few things that are happening. Bookmobile is visiting during the month of July. The Bookmobile is traveling around the village, stopping Caldwell, so making sure that kids are at PEP and kids are at Youth Commission are having an opportunity to get books signed out, in addition to every morning our library actually being open. And she had all sorts of field trip programs. It was a Scoop Sneakers and Stories thing. So kids were traveling to ice cream shops and then like Jenkinsville, they went to Crandall Park, and they did different activities that were connected to a theme that Bridget had provided. So pretty neat stuff. And she collaborated with Heather Usher for the activity portion of things. Breakfast and Books was going on, and these programs have been very well attended. So also wanted to thank her a chance for being invited to our library. She's in on those days all summer as well. Over the summer, I always like to thank Kathy O'Brien publicly and the town, the village, and the collaboration with Youth Commission, because it's an amazing program. Communities do not offer what our children benefit from. So, again, good numbers. Youth Commission and PEP, and kudos to Kathy and the staff that work. Our K-6 Jumpstart program begins next Monday. We have about 45 students that are signed up. This is an opportunity for kids to get an academic boost over the summer. 3 weeks, as the program has historically been, 8 to 10:30, solid blocks of ELA each morning. Also, during the next few weeks, we have our summer STEM camp, which starts next week. We have about 60 students participating. It's our highest numbers to date, which is really that's run by staff members. Back in time, 10 years ago, we started having the camp convention outside organization. We said, wait, but we can do a better job. So we wound up doing that, and the program was hiatus for a couple of years. We're back to business as strong as ever. I also want to mention we have a 2-week reading program being run by Mrs. Catarelli and Mrs. Bonasano. They're doing a book study. It's the book Chasing Vermeer. There's like an art theme to the story, so they do various projects related to sort of 5th and 6th grade kids. So they have a nice group of kids who can participate in that, and that's reading for us. And finally, we hold our educational cabinet meeting Thursday, and our Thursday the summer cabinet meeting is an opportunity for us to review data. We do a survey of our staff, students, and parents each year. Take that information, work through that, and it helps us see how we're going to execute our goals as a building, but also helps us establish goals for the following year. And they are connected to leadership and leader meet program. I'm looking forward to the meeting. Out of that meeting, develop action teams that will help move those goals forward. So that's it. I've got a lot going on.
Always enjoy your reports. It's always inspiring to hear stuff that question.
Just want to say, I read the write-up about the refurbished story walk, and that was just impressive. All that went into it, and all the student leadership and collaboration.
I went out there today. I was showing our counselor the outside campus, and she's planning what actually exists here, and we took a walk out of the story levels.
I just want to say congratulations on your report, and we too are very proud of our elementary school.
Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. And I just want to also say I had the pleasure of visiting one of Bridget's Wednesday. It was just a tremendous opportunity. I walked in and all the students were reading. She was doing a wonderful read aloud. It brought me back to my teaching days. They were reading 4th grade Rats, which is a wonderful book. And I sat down and jumped in for a couple chapters and talked to the kids. It was just really a wonderful experience to see all the great literacy work going on this summer. So kudos to Bridget for her work and supporting our students. So I got a couple presentations for the Board of Education tonight. The first one is one that I shared in our Thursday themes last week in regards to the first 30 days. It's hard to believe 30 days have gone by like that, if I could snap. It's gone really quick. I've been here, started July 1st, but as you all know, I've had the pleasure of really being in the district since April, on and off, and really starting to learn and understand the values of the district. So I will go through this presentation quickly, but I wanted to touch on a few different things here, just so. You want to go to the first slide, please? I think it struggles with the WebEx. We'll take a look at that. So one of the things I wanted to make sure the board is aware of is, as I entered into the school year, I did put together a formal entry plan. And I'm really sticking to that. I'm living to that. It's a living document. It's certainly adjusting as we go. But really my commitments were, if you look at the 4 bullets that are going down, starting with relationships, that's most important. And that's going to continue on into the school year. I've been focusing strong on building strong community relationships. I've had lots of meetings, which I'll talk about soon, meet and greet meetings. And really the intention of that is to be intentional. I want to understand the district values. I want to start to identify strengths, challenges, areas of opportunities, but also areas of growth in the district. And then really we'll use that to synthesize that information to help develop goals for future success. That's really my intention of all these different meetings and really the listening and learning that I've been doing. So you can see with some of the bullets there, it really all starts with relationships, and that's how you build trust and communication. But really, I want to continue to provide instructional leadership to help improve our programs to support our mission, vision, and values. That's ultimately what I want to get to. And part of that listening and learning tour is really going to help me get there. So currently I'm in the entry phase. I'm engaging in listening and learning process. I've had lots of meet and greets. I've met with almost all the board members. I'm meeting with Tricia tomorrow. And really it's just been a great opportunity to get to know one another, get to know, expectations and just really the history of the district. I've met with various community leaders as well. That's going to continue on into August. I'll be meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, and really starting to get involved in our community. It's really important to me to be visible and be out in the community and getting to know not only our district and school leaders, but also our community leaders as well. Part of that, what I'm doing is, again, focusing on themes, really honing in on strengths, values, challenges, and areas of growth. So that's kind of that theme that I'm really working on, is we're listening and talking and having conversation. Those are the pieces that I'm trying to help synthesize, and this information really to help develop future action plans. That's really my ultimate goal as we move into the fall and winter. So some of the feedback that I've received and input, there's been noticeable themes that have come out of all of my meetings. And again, I've had dozens and dozens of meetings so far, and really these meet and greets have been tremendously valuable. So the first one that keeps coming up over and over and over again is the dedicated and committed staff. That has been absolutely the most profound thing that everybody has said. It's number one on the list. They're living the mission of our district. I've talked to the administrators about it, and really what Jim was just referencing too in regards to, you know, the COVID impact here, it's been very minimal because of the efforts of our staff. They really cherish each and every student. The idea of living the mission, personalizing opportunities for our students to be lifelong learners, leaders, and global citizens is really apparent. It's there, they're child-centered, they personalize those opportunities, there's high levels of student support. No student falls through the cracks here. We have, you know, there is really commitment to every single student. That really came out in all of my meetings. There's a strong sense of pride. Absolutely, that's typically been number two coming out as well. There's a tremendous sense of pride in this district. The history, tradition. Most of the people I've talked to are Lake George alums. They've gone to school here. Many of them are continue to come back. They dedicated their time to the district. They're employees here, and there's a tremendous sense of pride in this community, and that's just been paramount as I've listened to the variety of people I've spoken to. The last two pieces again speak to our programming here. There's strong academic programming. High rigor. There's lots of rigor in this district. There's lots of pathways. There's lots of opportunities for students to get involved. And that's something that I was just really excited to learn about. All the different paths that students can learn and grow from, even down to the great work our FBLA program just did, our VEX program. There's just so many different opportunities for kids to get involved. And even at our youngest levels, if there isn't a club or activity, they make them. Which is really exciting as well. So those are some of the themes that I'm starting to hear about as common themes. And we'll go to the next slide. And continuing along those lines, these maybe areas of growth or potential challenges, these are common themes as well. So the first one is really the impact of declining enrollment in this district. We know that that's a national trend. It's also a state trend. We're going to continue to pay attention to it. But ultimately, declining enrollment is really should be considered an opportunity for us. It's an opportunity to look at our programming. It's an opportunity to look at shared services and resources. So again, we have to look at this as something that we need to take on, and we need to really try to figure our way through, you know, with different opportunities regionally that we can support each other, because all of the districts around us are going through this. So this is something that we'll continue to keep on the forefront, but this came up as a theme as well. The second one is our aging facilities. We have, first I want to say we have beautiful facilities. It has been a tremendous walking around, looking at our grounds, our facilities team, our grounds team, they do a tremendous job. But ultimately we are in a 100-year-old building. We have a transportation facility that was built in the 50s. We have aging facilities. So one of the pieces at the bottom there is about long-range planning. And certainly we need to start looking at the future. How are we going to address classroom spaces? When you think about space influences learning. So one of the things that we want to take a close look at is our classrooms, is our facilities, starting to work on plans of potential future capital projects. And really that's a long-term vision. That's something that has come out in these meetings as well as, you know, how to address the aging facilities. We know with COVID implications, our students are coming to us with different needs. That's even beyond COVID. We've seen that in every district around us. Our students are coming with different needs. So that also with the theme as well is making sure we don't lose sight of that and making sure we're meeting the needs of all of our students, the social emotional needs as well as the academic needs as well. I'm excited about our new counselor in the elementary school as well. So that's something that also came out, not losing sight of that. And also this idea of K-12 unification. This started, and this is a theme that has also come out. Part of it is the physical locations of our buildings, the high school and separated from the elementary school, but there's been a lot of work around that, and I want to continue that work. Needs to be a sense of we're all in this together, we're all working towards the mission. We want to see our students graduate college and career ready with the skills necessary to move forward. And I intend to do that. We're going to get everybody together. We're going to do staff development, and it'll be a great opportunity for us to come together as a team, with me being new as well. So that's one thing that I know that also came out, and there are so many wonderful positive things happening here in this district. So continuing to work to get the message out. This community has a lot to offer. The school has a lot to offer, and really getting the message out about programming is something that was also a theme of continuing to do. We know we have 7 new teachers. We have 21 untenured teachers. The board is well aware of this. I'm really excited about the new teacher orientation program that Megan Coker is putting together. We've been working hard on that this summer. We're welcoming our teachers in the next couple of weeks for 2 days of orientation. But we've heard that our new teachers are getting support. And it's a great opportunity, again, for Megan with some of her shifting responsibilities to look at how are we best supporting our new teachers, providing them with mentorship, providing them with the training that they're going to need to be successful. So that is also a theme that also came out as well. And in the same vein, curriculum development. We know Megan's role as well. I've heard loud and clear, even Jim just mentioned as well, as coming out of COVID, we need to start looking at curriculum and how does it align K-12? How do we support our students moving from the elementary school up into the junior high school and up into the senior high school as well? So those are, again, different themes that continue to come out as areas for us to look into. So I'm excited about them. It's great to hear these messages, and certainly as I look forward to the next steps, it's really continuing the strong emphasis on building relationships. I'm excited, as I mentioned, of getting out, getting to know the community organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, district groups, our PTSO, our alumni group, and really as we enter into the fall, we know a lot of people aren't here right now, but really spending time with our teachers, our staff, our student groups, sitting down, talking to them, getting to know what they think of the school, areas of growth, areas of strength, and our parents as well. I'm really excited for the fall as we get to really get everyone back here. That's really what I'm most excited about, is building toward it. And the next step is really building toward a safe and successful opening day of school. That's critical. We know our kids are coming back. We will be ready. We're going to be opening. We're going to be open with normal routines, normal expectations. It's exciting as we kind of move beyond COVID to really start to focus on getting kids back, opportunity for socialization, opportunities for small group work, talking to the principals about that. And at this point, there's no limitations on what we can do from the state. So unless something comes down on the right before the start of school, that's our very intention of opening as normal as possible. The last couple of pieces is really as people come back, really collaborating with stakeholders. Really, one of the areas I need to continue to work on is understanding the processes, systems, and procedures of our district. There's lots of great systems in place, and I'm excited to continue to learn them and help refine them in areas that I feel need to be refined. And then the last one is, any immediate needs of the district, and really our goal is to ultimately plan for future successes. We're going to work together. We're going to develop plans. We're going to develop goals, and really the intention is to continue to plan for the future success of this district. That's ultimately number one. Our students come first, and we want to make sure that they're going to be successful here in this district. So this has been the first 30 days. Again, it's been a whirlwind. It's been wonderful, and I'm really just getting started, but at the same time, really getting to know a lot of people here and the community, and it's just really been a tremendous summer. So, any questions?
Thank you.
So I want to transition to really a presentation on the transportation facility, and the board is again. These 2 pictures here, and I'm going to do a condensed version of this, as there's been information shared with the board as well. We just had our building and grounds committee meeting, so Janine and Mario and Donna have been brought up to speed, and I know the Board of Education was privy to 2 presentations prior to my arrival in regards to the transportation facility. But I love these 2 pictures that start, because to me, it looks like there's a need right there. When you look at those photos, there's a need to address our transportation facility, just by looking at it as well. So we can go ahead, Janine, to the next one. So I want to my goal of this presentation is really to bring the board up to speed on where we've been, where we are right now, and then where we're heading. So the timeline so far is really, there's been a lot of studies done in the last year. As you well know, the interim superintendent, along with Lynn and members from Tetra Tech, really evaluated a lot of different options to address the needs of the transportation facility over the last really year and beyond. There was 2 presentations to the Board of Education, public presentation, one in May and one in June, that built on each other. And then the board entered into pre-referendum services with Tetra Tech. And let me introduce Garrett Hamlin. He's the principal architect for Tetra Tech. He's here tonight. So he's been with us working throughout the summer. And really what that means is we've entered in an agreement with Tetra Tech to really help us with this process, to start doing studies, to start to bring us along in what could be a potential project. Since then, we have formed a committee of stakeholders strategically that have met, and really the goal of that stakeholder group was to examine and analyze the options. That was ultimately the goal. And that stakeholder meeting committee consisted of members from Tetra Tech. There's a team of architects, the director of planning and zoning, the mayor's been formed. I met with the mayor, I talked about it. He's in support of our plans. The town supervisor, transportation director, we had members of our district as well, the PTSO president, and the building and grounds committee chairperson. So Janine has also sat on the committee. And really the objectives of that committee was really 4. Understanding the need to address the existing transportation facility. That was number 1. So we took them through a whole lengthy presentation about the need for it, and we're going to cover a little bit of that in a minute. Second was to assist the district on a path forward with the presented options. So we looked at this committee as sort of guidance to say, what do you think of these 2 options? These are the best options that we can bring to the community. And what do you think? The goal was to come to consensus on the best one. And then ultimately, as we work through this, to be an ambassador in the community for this project. It is a great need in our district, and it is something we need, and we know we need ambassadors in our community. So just to bring the board back, and there's several slides on this, but I condensed it to just a few, is that the reason for looking at this building is that it's received an unsatisfactory rating on the building condition survey. That's really, really important. There is significant inefficiencies in the transportation facility. So there is some of those photos that are kind of small, but you can kind of see that there are significant roof and leaking issues. They're leaking into electrical areas. The electrical power distribution system is 1953 original. You can see, I didn't even know what those were, to be honest with you. When I saw them, I've learned a little bit about electricity and how it works, and those are original. We've had, again, you can see the timeline of work. We've done quite a bit of patchwork over time, but it's really fallen by the wayside. The biggest concern also is the vehicle lifts. They don't accommodate what we need. There's just a host of things, as you can see here, to include fire alarm systems outdated, the emergency exit lighting systems, the roofs, the water supply is original as well. It's non-potable water. They have to bring water into the facility. It's just not ideal. There's a tremendous amount of inefficiencies. The other piece to it is, again, it's missing significant components to what would be considered a well operated facility for transportation. So it's missing vehicle work base, so including a DOT lift. It doesn't have a water reclamation system or water bay for walking our vehicles, which is critical in winter, called salt. We don't have a secure parts storage. There is not a fire-rated tire and battery storage. So they're just significant, again, things, and they're doing a tremendous job. Our transportation and our mechanics, our director and our mechanics are really doing a tremendous job working with what they have. There is not a place for any sort of training. There is significant training our drivers have to go through each and every year. There's not a place for them to really work or to really receive training from our supervisor. You can see some of the photos there of really makeshift storage areas. So again, as I alluded to, this building was built in 1953. It was never designed as a transportation facility. It was actually the original elementary school. Now it's had some pieces built onto it, but it was really retrofitted to become a transportation facility. So by design, it's really, there's a lot of weaknesses because of that. So you can see this is a great photo as well. So you can see the 3 different buildings there. You've got the original elementary school. You've got what used to be the gym as the 2 work bays. And again, that other side is going to some of the storage. But you can see the different masonry there and the different roof lines. That's inherently causing problems. That's where a lot of the leaks are occurring. So this photo really does it justice that it's really been retrofitted. It was never really designed as a really well-working transportation facility. And kudos goes to our team again for the different workarounds they're having to do. Some of those, Virginia, you can kind of click slowly for this. So what this means is because of the facility size and the short bays, it really requires us to purchase buses that have significant modifications. We can't just go out and buy a bus stock off the shelf. We have to modify it. There's potential and there's increased costs because of that. So, and there are safety features that we would like to have that we can't because of the limitations for the buses fitting in the garage. So it's things like smaller mirrors, smaller tires. There's a special air suspension so the bus actually has to lower down. So when drivers are coming into the facility, they have to stop, they have to lower the suspension down and then start to ease their way in a jockeying position because, again, of the tightness of the bays. So there's a couple other ones to be in there. So there's no, as I mentioned, there's no blinking safety light, and we're really limited to only purchasing 60 passenger buses. That's a good size for us, but it doesn't limit us to, maybe some future growth in the future. So again, lack of space means we have to buy modified buses. So we really studied that more in depth as a committee. Andy was there, Andy Raymond, our transportation supervisor, spoke at length, and we watched the different videos of the buses, some of which the board has seen as well. So we really started to look at the two options. This was presented to the board again in June, as these are the two options. So option one is to renovate on the existing site, which we'll talk about in a minute. Option two was to relocate the transportation facility 15 acres there, and really was to look at relocating it to an area on that property. There was lots of other options considered, and just to touch on a few over the last several years, there was a study done between the town, the village, and the school. There was no good conclusion that came of that. Again, if we were to try to consolidate, which does make sense, there was nothing in that study that would be beneficial to the district. You go into the town, again, we're going from one residential facility to another residential facility. There was other options studied as well. We did look at other parcels of land, but again, everything kind of pointed us back to looking at our own property. It would be less costly than going out and purchasing land to build on. So I want to just linger here for a minute on option one. So option one is to renovate, and this is what we presented to the committee. There are significant disadvantages. There's almost no advantages to option one. The present site is too small. We can only have one work bay. We really need three. We need two for lifts and one for water reclamation. And then also, one of the biggest things that kept coming up is if we did renovate, we would have to have our maintenance performed off-site. That means we would have to contract with another district or another municipality to have the buses go and get their maintenance. So now we've got buses on the road without students. We're putting more miles on our buses. Our mechanics have to go some other place. Again, logistically, that was also considered a pretty significant disadvantage. The other disadvantages, you can see residential location. There's lots of issues working with the village, and when there's different events, it can cause problems with staging of the buses, just logistical parking. There's other, there's lots of limitations for parking around this area, and also challenges with construction phasing. If we were to renovate and sort of expand there, that would cause significant issues with our really arrival and dismissal and trying to phase that in. It really would be difficult to store the buses. It would be a challenge. The other piece I want to mention here, and this is important, is that there is a New York State mandate coming in regards to electric vehicles. So basically, the state has stated that we as school districts, and the state has to phase diesel and gas out by 2027. So that's a state mandate. There's really, we have to follow those mandates. And then a complete conversion to electric vehicle by 2035. So the reason that this is a disadvantage for renovating is due to space. So for us to meet the mandate, you really need some space. There is going to be code for the different, for the electric vehicle infrastructure that we have to follow. So this, to me, is a disadvantage, and the committee felt strongly about that as well, is that this is limiting us, the space would limit our ability to meet that mandate. Option two is new construction, relocating to the Lake George property. This might be an image that's new to some people, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So we, through the committee work, and the work with Tetra Tech, they identified 3 areas on the Lake George property, one of which, due to lots of issues with topography and land, one of which was deemed a viable location. And I walked that site, I've been on the site, I walked it with Garrett, and it really is a viable option. So we presented this as option 2, which is new construction, and the advantages really are significant. They really outweigh the disadvantages of renovating. So the first one is our facility. It's the Lake George Central School District facility. We don't have to contract with anybody else. It is our facility. It's on our school property. It meets all of the needs that we need to have. It has 3 bays, a storage, secure storage, battery. It has water, the ability to have a wash bay. It meets everything that we need. It's out of the residential area. So we're getting away from the village. It's avoiding parking issues, avoiding the staging of buses right here. It's easy for them to pull right out and grab the elementary students as well. That's the first place they go. And in the event, and I will just comment briefly, in the event of an emergency and an evacuation, that's where we're going first anyways. So if we think about some other slight advantages, that would be a good one as well. It's going to increase the efficiency of the dismissal and arrival, the safety for our drivers, and it would allow us to purchase buses without modifications and address the required electric bus infrastructure mandate. That's important. We would be on the kind of cutting edge of that, but it would allow us to plan ahead for that mandate. In addition to that, one other piece that we talked about with the committee is that there is potential for repurposing the existing site for maintenance and ground storage. Currently, we don't have maintenance and ground storage. Lots of our tractors and equipment sit outside in elements in rain, winter. It would be great to be able to park them in a bay. So there was discussion about potential for repurposing that existing site. In addition to that, could allow us to have additional parking for school as well. So you just go back 1 second. So the image that you're looking at on the right is a very kind of just a quick snapshot of what that would look like. So if we're familiar with the athletic fields down at the Lake George Elementary School, there's that gravel parking lot that has just been created over time. And it would really be a driveway up from there. And then there's, it's more flat land at the top. And that's really where those 3, the 3 different types of facilities would all be connected right there. So that is just one image. It's early on in the process, but this is just one schematic of that specific location where this facility could be built. So the committee, after the committee work, we talked about that. We had great dialogue. There was overwhelming consensus to look at option 2 further as the best option. So that is where we're at in the pre-referendum phase. So next steps for the committee, we're meeting on August 18th. And the goal of that meeting is to come back to them with some greater details on the options selected. So we're going to be looking more closely, we currently are, at what new construction would look like, the costs associated with that, the financial plan. We'll be coming back with a project timeline, how long it would take to really construct, and also a communications plan. Part of that communications plan will be making sure our community is well informed. We'll have regular presentations at each Board of Education meeting, in addition to a community presentation later this fall. We have lots of studies going on that Garrett just spoke about with our Building and Grounds Committee. So again, there has to be, there's really a full environmental study. So we have, paperwork and lots of things going on with the APA, the EEC, and so on. So we want to do this right. We want to make sure we have as much information as possible to come back to our committee with, and then certainly come back to the Board of Education and to our community as well. So there'll be a phased approach for this in regards to communications. So the last slide here is really why now? Why are we doing this now? Well, first, we have a building that is not meeting the standards. It is an unsatisfactory building. There are significant issues present in that building. This has been going on for a number of years. Our team is doing a tremendous job working around obstacles, limitations every single day. the financials, we're exploring the tax impact, but we're at a really great time because we have retiring debt. We also have capital reserve that we can access that will really help offset any potential, any tax impact on our community. So we'll come back with more on that. And then this is really, again, the last piece is, this can't be, stated, is that it would really be an opportune time to plan for the new electric bus mandate. Again, we have to abide by the mandate. We want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to plan ahead for that. Any questions?
John, I have just a couple questions. The electric structure, those specs they're known.
It's still pretty early on, and I might defer to Garrett here for some more specific answers, or Lynn even, but it is still early on. There is going to be funding associated with that from the state. So we will have some options there. I don't know if there's specific infrastructure requirements yet, but we know that it's going to require some sort of battery. There's going to be some place for the buses to plug into, but there's going to be requirements in the number of feet on each side.
And then I just wanted to ask a question about the photograph. Is there, I don't know if I understand this right, but is there also that it's going to be that looks like it's sort of like.
So I think you're referring to where it says parking.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to account for parking around the facility for not only our drivers and our mechanics, but what that will also allow for is the potential for parking right into additional parking right into the athletic fields as well. So we are accounting for that. That's something that we've been talking about, how nice it would be to really look at strengthening the gravel pit as well, because that seems to be a little bit of a come as you go, and there's not really a lot of guidance in that parking area. So we're really talking about how we can develop that area to make it more formal parking, but then again, have a gradual slope down to the track there to allow for parking for athletic events as well.
So I think that accessibility feels challenging, so I'm just make sure I was understanding that.
Any other questions from the board?
Thorough and so appreciative of the work team to put this together, do the research. Thank you for being here at Harvard.
Janet, audit and finance report. Share that.
Thanks, Steve. We did review the treasury report for June, July, and August. We talked about it, we'll review that in September once the balance stated in audit. There was nothing noteworthy in the clean auditor's report. There was some conversation around the meeting schedule, but that was, there isn't a meeting, we'll make sure that the notes get circulated to everybody in the committee. This survey went over the summary capital projects, which really was a big piece of the meeting. The 2018 project is nearly done. We're just waiting on some door holders for the Umsel Library, where we learned. Currently holding those doors open is damaging the hinges, so we really want to get those door holders in. We'll finish the HVAC project next summer, and the county luckily is contributing $100,000 in COVID funds towards this project. She also reported on the bus ban, which is the bond anticipation note, and there were two banks that we looked at, Green County Commercial Bank, with one because they had a rate of 3.17, much better than Roosevelt and Cross, but we're seeing a higher interest rate now because of what we're seeing with the federal fund rate. We also just discussed briefly the purchasing policy procedure, and that was just a standard that we sent out to everybody that does generate a purchase order. It was really to discuss other than just the procedure itself to make sure everybody knew about it. And we will down the road talk about the threshold for equipment purchase, which is right now at $1,000. The federal grant is up to $5,000 for time. So that's something we'll probably review when we get to the budget process next year. Questions?
So next up is the board development committee report, and we had a very productive meeting on July 26th. Board development committee had a discussion about the committee's purpose with the intention of writing a committee charge. And Mary Ann has been working soon. The Board of Education budget for board development was reviewed to ensure that plans for conferences, workshops, and retreats are fiscally sound. We talked about the relevance and importance of the annual New York State School Board Association conference for board members. There's a wide variety of educational and team building opportunities. Talk a little bit about that. It's an agenda item tonight. Later, get to that item, we're going to have a discussion about delegates. So when we get to that part on the agenda. Committee brainstormed ideas for facilitators, topics for retreats and workshops, and Superintendent John Lutheringer has followed up with SuperEval regarding some potential combination workshop retreat that would educate the governance team on goal setting, evaluation process, and John reached out, and the gentleman is going to go back from vacation, send a proposal.
All tonight.
See, after the New York State School Board Convention, the committee is going to ask board members to identify areas that they feel like growth areas for them and development, and customize it based on what people feel like their needs are. We also discussed board meeting technology. The previous school year, there were challenges at times for some community members trying to join committee virtually. The board has a new system in place for virtual access to committee meetings, which should allow consistent, successful access for members. We'll keep an eye on that. And if it will. So far, it's been for regular board meetings, we will be evaluating options for improving sound quality for the virtual component and be looking at optimizing the in-person space. Self-evaluation is something we talked about. That's going to take place in early 2023 to allow time for us to make adjustments and improvements as working as a board team, as well as planning for future board development. We're going to be using the SuperEval tool again, which we've used very successfully over the last few years. This timeline will also allow new board members to become familiar with this system prior to performing the annual superintendent evaluation, which also uses the Super. We talked about the superintendent mid-year assessment and annual evaluation, and the timelines for that are based on contractual agreement. And all the timelines are written in, I won't review them, but they're based on aligning with board meetings and the contract. And the last piece we talked about was the new board member orientation. I know we talked about that at several several board meetings, and that's ongoing for the school year. It's off to a good start so far. We've got a couple folks being Janine and Rosemary mentors, and we're all checking in with them, and they've had tours with the principals, buildings, which are quite thorough. So far, off, and that will be an ongoing process. And we're going to just evaluate throughout the school year to see how we can make adjustments based on the feedback that we get. In November, this committee is recommending that we survey the board regarding the successes and challenges of the orientation, and hopefully do that in combination when we want to survey the board to see what educational needs are identified. So, pretty hefty meeting, got a lot done. It's good, and I was like, ready. We need tomorrow with potential some facilitating, so we'll find out more about it. Anybody have any questions? Next up is the policy committee.
So this is really just a very, very brief update. Tonight, policy committee did not meet this past month, but we have received a handful, 6 updates from Erie, and they have been done electronically by the policy committee. 2 of them for in-person discussion at the next policy committee meeting in September. 4 of them identified as needing some examination at the district level. Those policies for discussion at the board level policy committee. So policies moving to first or second read this. Just to be aware that there are several policies in this. We have come to the first of our 2 public.
First comment here is reserved for comments regarding agenda items. We don't have anybody signed up for. So we will
I have one.
go ahead and come up to the.
Well, it's pretty simple. Nobody can get on and watch right now. We have a new,
I received your email. And for some reason the link wasn't working, populated it, so everyone who is
Working out.
should be able to receive.
Thanks for letting us know about that. Okay. Next item is our school business. Consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be resolved, the Board of Education of Lake Forest Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through G. In summary, item A is the recommendation that the board approves the July 1 reorganizational and regular meeting minutes. Item B is the Committee on Special Education has submitted its recommendations for August. It's my recommendation that the board approve these recommendations. Item C pertains to, in memory of teachers Randy Madison and Ed Murphy, the board is asked to approve the 22nd annual Rams Run and the 10th annual Murphy's Mile as a fundraiser. The fundraiser will be held on May 20th, 2023. The class of 2027 and the LGEA co-sponsoring this event with proceeds of the event to be split between the 2 groups. Item D is each year the board must set district rates for the school lunch program. Adult and breakfast lunch will increase for the 22-23 school year. As presented, student A breakfast will be $1.80. For the elementary and junior senior high school will be the student type A lunch is $2.75 for the elementary and junior senior high school. Adult breakfast is $2.65, and the adult lunch is $5.50. Milk stays the same at 65 cents. Again, one of the things that we want to do is make sure we don't adversely affect student participation, right? So I don't want a negative impact on our goals for the cafeteria. So these are very normal rates. So it's my recommendation that the board approves the 22-23 cafeteria rates as indicated. Item E is the recommendation that the board approve the August surplus list and computer list, as the items on these lists are considered outdated, obsolete, or damaged, and have no value. The district, item F pertains to the district-wide safety plan that has been updated. The website in 30 days. We did not receive any public input. However, there has been some minor edits and adjustments from the district perspective pertaining to, again, minor edits. Again, the district safety plan will be made public once approved by the. Item G pertains to the student transportation cooperative agreement. Again, this is a regional cooperative agreement to help assist local districts, again, with shared resources in the event that we need to help transport students from one district to another. Very common in schools and especially in the other areas.
So moved.
Second.
Can you just clarify which class is co-sponsoring the Randy Drawing Workers Plan?
Yes, sorry, it's the class of 2027. I'm sorry, I was looking at the notes there. It's 2026.
Yes, well, okay.
So we had a motion from,
I'll second that.
any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Next item is what I made reference to in state school board election, and that piece, we just need to fill the blanks for volunteers to lead this.
Interested in being a delegate. Did that once in the past. Interested in. A little. Interested in being.
I wouldn't mind being.
Carrying and volunteering as delegate, and
Do you, I mean, I can be the alternate.
no.
I just want to enthusiastically support that. I was there the year that Marianne went for the first time, passion and the interest that she had. And it was fantastic, and it really, I believe that it was positioned well to represent beyond Lakewood. So thank you.
That the superintendent be resolved that the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District hereby approves the Board of Education's attendance at the annual district convention from October 27th through October 29, 2022. Delegate will be Marianne McKenzie, and Rosemary Earl will be the alternate.
So moved.
Second. Oh, Janine, sorry, Janine, second. Do you have any discussion? All in favor? It carries. Next item is book review. This next resolution agenda was derived from the book, which is attached to the agenda. Resolution, there'll be an opportunity for discussion. Thank you, so hang on. Whereas the Board of Education pursuant to policy number 20, material selection, legally responsible for the selection of all printed and published materials used in the school district, further delegates authority to professional staff and supervision the building principal for selection of textbooks as well as library meeting materials, supplementary and instructional materials. Whereas the Board of Education has received request for reevaluation of a book ongoing by Jonathan F. Superintendent of School is certified pursuant to policy 20 material selection. The Board of Education has assembled a to read and listen to materials in the book Envoy by the material pursuant to material selection provided the Board of Education with its recommendation in a timely manner. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Central School has reviewed the recommendations submitted by Materials Review Committee, said book Envoy. Hereby accepts the recommendation Materials Review Committee to retain book Envoy by as part of the junior senior school library.
So moved.
Discussion. Questions?
The remarks that I to make. I really just wanted to, first of all, thank individuals who, they had a concern about this book. They engaged in certain processes to attempt to resolve their concerns. I also want to express gratitude for the people as part of the materials review to do the work to provide support with the recommendations that specialists who help us understand what the general selection process entails. I did want to comment, I did read this book to provide myself with context and perspective toward weighing this resolution. And I thought a lot about examining this resolution. And just to clarify, I see our role as being to ensure the school district has processes that are sound for both selection and of the book, and then also have responsibility to ensure that those processes it's really important to bring to the table also as a board member is a measure of faith and trust in the district professionals that perform these, that do these processes, see these through to completion. These are district professionals who are performing the responsibilities with great care and who serve with passion for students and our. I think it's important not to lose sight of that. I don't mean faith and blind. I mean trust, which we have that with each other in the school district, and also because we have knowledge of the district's attention to systems and so I just wanted to make those remarks to sort of just say how I'm arriving at this table. But I can let somebody else speak. I'll come back.
Mary, you said a lot of things I was thinking about reading this. There's a recommendation here I'm not totally with, but I do believe the process that library specialists have that will kind of the kids in the lane. But I agree that Drake is brought it to us and process that we follow. That's the way it should work.
I really enjoyed engaging in this, and I'm pleased that we're able to test our policies, right? And it came before us, and it required a great deal of thought. And I so appreciated the depth with which the committee and the information they provided us with, from defining what obscenity is, from, actually showing what literary value is, and how we judge that. And those are, there are metrics there. It's not just subjective. It's not just one person's opinion or what one person thinks that's right for their child. We are public education, and we go broader than that. And so we have a responsibility to make an informed decision based on all that information. And so I'm grateful, very grateful that was looked at so thoroughly. And I think that they demonstrated to me why we put our trust in our professionals, because it was very, very much professionally done. And I do believe that the recommendation is an informed recommendation that comes not just from a person, but from professional researched place. And I also, I thought long and hard of the idea of choice, right? And when we get into gray areas, there's language in that book that is you know, something that we don't want to put in front of all of our children, right? We don't, we look at it and hear it and think twice about it, and that's why we did the review process. But I think we have a very important responsibility when we're talking about speech and doing something on behalf of everyone. When there's a gray area, there's always opportunity to lean in and partner with parents and make individual decisions. And I think that was demonstrated here also. You know, when a younger student came forward to check out the book, individual attention was given to lean in, to partner with parents, and I feel very proud of our district for that. I have a lot of fun going forward that this material or any other material that has some kind of controversial content will be treated with sensitivity and partnership, including parents.
And in summary, their work, supporting documents that were really interesting and helpful. That's all we need tonight. I do feel confident in supporting the recommendation to retain the. I also read the book, understanding. So when references were made, supporting documents, they were to me. On the table in this. Yes, thank you.
It's recommended by the superintendent be resolved, the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District hereby accepts the faculty staff leave requests consent agenda items A through B. Item A is a motion to approve the leave of absence request of Catherine Gibbons, teaching assistant, effective September 1st through on or about December 30th. Just to expand a little bit there, Catherine is submitted a request for leave of absence in order to fill a vacancy at as an elementary AAS teacher. So we would see her on the next appointment on the consent for that. Item B is to a motion to approve the unpaid leave of absence request of Audrey Black, English teacher, effective July 1, January 27th. Again, she submitted an unpaid leave request in order to extend her term.
Discussion. Staff.
As recommended by the superintendent, be resolved, the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent appointments, items A through H. Item A is a motion to appoint Catherine Gibbons to the position long-term substitute elementary AIS teacher, effective September 1st, 2022 through on or about December 31st, 2022. Item B is a motion to appoint Lori Wolf to the permanent position of cleaner, non-competitive class of civil service, effective December 28th. Item C is a motion to appoint Matthew Petties to the permanent position of groundskeeper or cleaner. Item D is a motion to appoint Justin Wolf to the permanent position of cleaner, again in the non-competitive class of civil service. Item E is a motion to appoint Andrew Kabricki to the permanent position of custodian. Item F is a motion to appoint Brian Cleveland to the permanent position of a cleaner. Item G is a motion to amend the 2022-2023 extracurricular co-curricular list and the amended 2022-23 curriculum list salaries associated with those amendments. And item A is a motion to amend the 2022-2023 coaches list and volunteer coaches lists and salaries associated with those positions.
So, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next item agenda is Board of Education. And just like to acknowledge the passing of two members of the Central School District. They both are retirees of our district. Darlene Hamilton worked for many years in food services and team. Bernard Droff was an industrial arts teacher for 27 years. 1990. Condolences go out to their families. Discussion. Is there anybody second public comment? Okay, so have Mark have
Paper, all that.
and is it? Sure, we have
3 minutes.
three minutes.
So I emailed you about this football merger of coaches. I want to be comfortable. It's a merger. Promise it will be 50-50. Merger, it's a takeover. It's 100% nothing. Surrender. These kids, Chad, Coach Z, they coach these kids from here out the door. Anyone here. Here comes. People. That graduate. First, what did we just say to those kids? What do we say to the other coaches here? Shrinking enrollment. Issues going forward. Started to upset about. Just got thrown. Unacceptable. No justification for it. Lies. Equitable. How? That's nothing. So, I think people need to answer to that. A lot of things here that are above me. This one's really above me. It's just. What's the agenda?
Everybody else has signed up for public comment this evening, so check. The for adjournment.
A motion.
Pardon me? But to adjourn. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Good.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. We got
This is-
I have serious.